I feel like your 20s are just one of those times in life where you can either set yourself up really well or you could waste a bunch of your years doing stuff that doesn't actually move your life forward. The bad part about that is most people don't even realize they're wasting it while it's actually happening. Wasting your 20s really doesn't look crazy. It's not really always some kind of huge disaster. A lot of times it's just little stuff that adds up over time. Saying you'll start next week, staying in the same routine every day, hanging around people that don't really push you to do anything better, spending money with no plans, sitting around thinking about what you'll do instead of actually doing it. And then a couple years go by and you start realizing you're just really in the same spot that you were before. In this video, I want to go over 6 tips not to waste your 20s, because I think this is really the decade where a lot of your habits, mindset, and direction in life really start getting set. But you also don't want to wake up at 30 feeling like, you spent the last 10 years doing nothing that really mattered. The first one is stop waiting until you feel ready. This is probably one of the biggest ones. A lot of people waste their life waiting until they quote unquote feel ready to do something, ready to start the gym, ready to switch jobs, ready to move, etc. And I get it, really, because everyone wants to feel confident before they do something uncomfortable. But that's just really not how it works most of the time. You're probably not going to feel ready, really at least fully, and most things that actually help your life are uncomfortable at first. They're awkward, uncertain, and sometimes make you feel a bit stupid because you don't know what you're doing yet, and that's normal. I think a lot of people think confidence comes first, action comes after, but most of the time, it's really the opposite. You do the things first, and then confidence starts showing up after you've done it a few times. Once you've done that, you really realize that it's not as bad as you made it in your head. Then you realize you can handle it. So if there's something that I feel like you need to do, it's just stop waiting for the perfect time where everything in your life adds up and you suddenly become fearless. That moment really is not coming. If you keep waiting until you feel 100% ready, you're just going to stay where you are. My second tip is get uncomfortable on purpose. And this is a big one because comfort can waste a lot of time. It's really easy to stay in situations just because they're familiar, the same job, same people, same habits, routine, and excuses really. Even if you know it's not really helping you, it's still comfortable because you know what to expect. There's no risk, no change, no pressure, but that comfort can really mess you up if you stay in it too long. A lot of growth comes from doing stuff that honestly kind of sucks at first. Learning new things, putting yourself out there, taking more responsibility, trying stuff that you might fail at. None of those feel good in the moment, but it's usually the stuff that actually changes you. I'm not saying you really need to make your life harder for no reason. I'm just saying that if you spend your whole 20s avoiding discomfort, you're probably also avoiding a lot of the things that would actually improve your life. I think sometimes people just need to look at their life, and sometimes you need to look at your life and ask yourself if you're actually happy or if you've just really gotten too comfortable being stuck. Those are two very different things that in the moment you might not realize. My third tip is watch who you keep around you. People around you really matter more than some people want to admit. I think as people grow up, they slowly realize it to the point where they look at the people around them, and if you're around lazy people all the time, negative people all the time, or people with no goals, discipline, standards, eventually that stuff starts rubbing off on you. Maybe not right away, but really, like I said, over time it does. You start thinking like them, acting like them, completely just making excuses like them and settling for the same stuff they settle for. I think really one of the easiest ways to waste your 20s without noticing it is this. If every person around you is cool with doing the bare minimum, spending all their money, partying, never taking anything serious and making fun of anybody who actually wants more in life, it's really going to affect you whether you want it to or not. Don't get me wrong, you don't need to cut off everybody and become some kind of super serious robot. But you should probably pay attention to who's around you. I think you need to ask yourself questions like, do these people make you better? Do they push you at all? Do they actually want more for themselves? Or are they just the type of people that really keep you in the same place because they're in the same place too? A lot of people outgrow certain friendships in their 20s and feel bad about it. But like I said, honestly, just a part of life. Not everybody's meant to go with you into the next version of your life. My fourth tip is stop wasting all your money. And you don't need to have your finances completely figured out in your 20s, and most people don't. Hell, most people don't have their finances figured out when they're in their 30s or 40s. But you need to stop acting like money doesn't matter. One of the easiest ways to make your life harder is really to spend everything you make and never think about it. A lot of people in their 20s, and I was exactly like this, I would get my paycheck and I would instantly spend it. It was gone. Food, random stuff online, subscriptions, going out, car payments you can barely afford. And it's the little purchases too that don't seem like much until you realize you do it every single week. Then when something serious comes up, you become stressed because you've got nothing saved and no room to breathe. And I'm not saying you can't enjoy your money. I think obviously, especially in your 20s, you should enjoy your money, but enjoy it smart. There's definitely a big difference between enjoying your money and having no control over it. If you can learn to save some of it, stop buying dumb stuff just because you feel like it, and actually have some kind of plan, You'll be better off than a lot of people your age. Even just building a small emergency fund that is a few $100s or maybe up to $1,000, $2,000 makes a huge difference, because now every little problem really doesn't feel like the end of the world. Money doesn't solve everything, but it really does give you options. And having those options really does matter. My fifth tip, and I think one of the biggest tips, struggled with this a lot, is stop comparing your life to everybody else. And this one is brutal, especially now with social media, and I've covered that in videos past, but it's really easy to look at people your age and feel like you're behind. Somebody's buying a house, getting married, making a ton of money, or maybe owning a business or traveling all the time, and now you're looking at your own life thinking you're doing something wrong. But you really don't know what somebody else's life is actually like. You're really just seeing what they want you to see on social media. You're seeing the best moments, the wins, the highlights, the stuff they chose to post. You're not seeing the debt, stress, bad decisions, stuff falling apart really behind the scenes. Comparison just really wastes your energy. That's really what it comes down to. It takes your focus off of your own life and really puts it into people that really have nothing to do with your path. Some people figure things out at 22. Some people don't figure it out until 30. Some people look like they've got it all together and then really everything falls apart. There's really no perfect timeline. So I feel like if you start using other people's lives as a standard for whether you're doing okay, you're really always going to feel behind. You're way better off focusing on your own progress. I think there's some questions you should really periodically ask yourself, like, are you better than you were a year ago? Are you moving in a better direction? Are you fixing stuff needs fixed? I think that matters way more than keeping up with strangers online. Last but not least, my final tip is build something instead of consuming all day. And this might be the biggest one. If you spend your 20s just consuming stuff, you're going to look up one day and realize you didn't build anything for yourself. By consuming, I mean just constantly taking in entertainment, doing things like scrolling, watching videos, watching other people do things, really thinking about what you want to do and saying you're going to start something, but never actually doing it. You're always watching in that stance, never building. And that's such an easy trap to fall into nowadays, because there's always something to distract you. You can spend an entire day on your phone without even realizing where the time went. You can convince yourself you're being productive because you're watching videos about self-improvement, money, business, fitness, whatever the case may be. But if you never actually apply any of it, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Your 20s should be the time where you're building some kind of foundation. It doesn't mean to have your whole life figured out right now, but it just means you should be working towards something. You can build a skill, build a business, build better habits, build your body, build your confidence, discipline, career, build something that actually matters and makes your life easier. The people who get into their late 20s and feel good about where they're headed usually aren't the people who sat around waiting for motivation all the time. It's usually the people who kept doing the work even when they didn't feel like it. At the end of the day, not wasting your 20s doesn't mean having everything figured out right at this instant. It doesn't mean you have to be rich or have some perfect lifestyle by a certain age. It just means, really, at the end of the day, you need to be honest with yourself. Are you actually trying to build the life you want, or are you just killing time and hoping things work out on their own? That's what gets most people, I think. They don't make really one huge, terrible decision that ruins everything. They just waste time. A lot of time. They put things off. They stay comfortable and they avoid hard stuff and keep telling themselves that they've got more time. One day, they wake up and they realize that they've burned through years doing really almost nothing that mattered. Your 20s really don't have to be perfect. You're going to mess things up and you're going to make bad decisions, probably change your mind about a lot of stuff, but that's really normal. But even saying that, you just really want to make sure you're moving somewhere. You still want to make sure you're actually trying. So stop waiting around for the perfect time. Stop staying comfortable all the time. Stop hanging around people that keep you down in life. Stop wasting your money and stop comparing your life to everybody else. Your 20s are too important to sleepwalk through them.